broadcast for shooters, hunters, and gun enthusiasts. This is the Firearms Radio Network. The bandwidth for this episode of Gun Guy Radio is sponsored by Patriot Patch Company. PatriotPatch.co.
Welcome to episode 277 of Gun Guy Radio. I'm your host Jake with co-host Zach. We talk about guns, prepping, homesteading, tools, automotive, and so much more. This episode is brought to you by Patriot Patch Company. Hey Zach, how's it going?
Oh, pretty good here. We are immediately going from summer to winter here, and I think you probably are too, huh?
Yeah, getting our first snow here October 28th, although this will probably post like next June, so... There's that. Anyways, let's get into the main topic. You actually took some training classes. You did some gun stuff.
I did some gun stuff. I went to Colorado again, second year in a row this time, to go to a Dave Spalding class. I mean, the year before was a week-long class, but this was just a weekend class. And it was kind of cool. It was nice. It was nice to go, to go back to the same spot, so you kind of felt a little more comfortable. You knew what you needed to bring. You kind of knew roughly what the curriculum was going to be, and I felt a lot more confident going to this class versus the year before. You just never really know what you're getting into going to a class like that, and so I prepped a little differently this time around. Knowing that some of the drills that they run, prepping the guns. I brought two Glock 19 Gen 5s, basically, just kind of OEM style guns. One was bone stock, and then the main gun that I shot was a Bowie tactical grip reduction gun that he had done. The one that's, ugly as sin, but it definitely works.
Now, isn't that the gun that he had one that you used last time? And
yeah,
you're
exactly.
Like, I need one.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, it's one that I borrowed after my optic was going funky on me and on my Gen 5 34, and I just like, hey, let me try your gun, and then I kind of fell in love with it at the last class, and in the interim year, I got my own done, and so that gun, both guns, I had sighted in at 25 yards with the red dot before the class, and I think that was a key change. Before, I think the red dots, I was just sighting them in at 10 yards, and which is fine, but, in those drills, we go back to 25 yards, and I was kind of all over the place way back there, and this time around, I felt it was way more accurate at 25 yards, and, if you sight in at 25 yards, anything closer, you're basically right on anyways. Like, if you're good back there, you're even better up close. So, at least with the Glocks, I can't speak for every pistol, but that's the way it seemed to work. And, I also swapped the trigger. He had done a full crazy trigger on his. I didn't need something that crazy, so I just dropped in a Glock performance trigger. I was trying to do an all OEM style gun. I didn't want anything, too crazy there. So it was just an OEM Glock Gen 5 MOS cut gun with a Hollow Sun SCS, optic. That's the one that bolts directly to the MOS cut. No plates, no adapters, because that's what bit me last year's class with the adapter plate going loose and then the optic going loose on top of it. The optic was tight to the plate. The plate had gotten loose between the gun and the optic. So really hard to see that. You can witness mark all those screws and I do, but you don't see it because it was buried underneath the optic. So I wanted something super dead simple. I could see the SCS optic doesn't use batteries. It's the one that uses the capacitors and whatnot, and it's got a small window. It doesn't need co-witness sights. It just uses a factory height sights, which is nice. Very low profile, green dot. Really nice. That's quite an optic. So I like that one. I did the Glock performance trigger, which it worked all right. It's a Sear style trigger for the Glocks, so it changes how the mechanism works in the back, and it kind of mimics how the Timneys did it. When the Timney came out with that trigger for the Glocks, they kind of really turned the Glock triggers upside down and completely changed how they worked. And it's amazing how they came up with that idea. And the Glock performance trigger kind of mimics that, not as well as the Timney does. So, but it's, from Glock, so people have that appeal that, Glock reliability, quote unquote. So I dropped one of those in there, and pretty much that's it. I was just That's all the gun had was trigger, optic, and the Bowie tactical grip reduction. And, he has a really aggressive tree bark style stippling. And, some people might say like, oh, that's too rough or anything. But at the class, it was perfect. Like it just gripped your hand. Now you take your hand off the gun and you see that tree bark in your hand still left over. It's that aggressive. But some people, you ever watch people on the line and they shoot and then you see them like re-grip the gun between like a string of fire? That's because the gun is moving in their hand or they're like, they can't keep their grip on the gun.
Yeah. That's
a bad sign. That means that gun isn't really right for what you're trying to do. Or they're not, gripping it right, I guess. But that Bowie gun with that stippling, was just like, as soon as you grip the gun out of the holster and you presented it and started firing, between that and the last bullet fired, the gun didn't move. It's just there. And it's those little things that you just realize like that's like the fine tuning of the shooting is like, yeah, anybody can get up there and shoot and get like mostly on target and everything. But then once you get past that point and then you're doing those fine tuning little tweaks, that's the kind of stuff like that stippling where the gun just doesn't move in your hand and you're just working. That's awesome. And people are like, well, you work at a aftermarket company and you're bringing a Glock OEM gun. And yeah, I get the irony. The irony's not lost on me on that one, but I don't want to think about the gun, at all. And there were multiple people on the range. There was actually a guy right next to me. He had a gun that was based on a Polymer 80 frame and, other aftermarket companies. Thankfully, nothing of ours in there, that just wouldn't run. The gun would not run. And it's so distracting when you're trying to focus on the drills and the things you're learning to just not have your gun work. Mm-hmm. Like it takes your mind off it. So I'm really glad I just had a gun that I didn't have to worry about. I mean, I didn't even want to have to even think about it. So it worked really good. The one thing, though, about that Glock performance trigger, something about the shape of the shoe or something. I don't know. The safety, just didn't. I found myself a few times going to the line and pulling the trigger, and then it just like the safety didn't clear the frame. So it just stopped and I had to like re-jigger my finger in the trigger guard and then pull back again. So it is a little weird there. So that was kind of interesting. And, so since then, when I got the gun, back, I said, I'm going to try a Timney. I wanted to see what it was like. So I bought a Timney. I think it is better. The shape of the trigger shoe is more comfortable. I think it's got a little bit of a better take up and, break. It's just different. It's more expensive too. So, I mean, there's that. So you gotta weigh those pros and cons for yourself. But, I took my main primary Bowie gun, put a Timney trigger in it. And then, what I didn't realize, cause I wasn't sure how much, what Glock might have done with the shoes on those performance triggers. I know they redid the back halves completely, but the fronts, I didn't know if they did anything different with the pivot points or anything. And I heard through some of my contacts that no, they didn't. So you can actually bust the trigger shoes off of those performance triggers too and put a different shoe on it. So I had a bunch of extra shoes laying around. So I actually put, an Apex aluminum trigger on a Glock performance trigger setup, and I moved that to my secondary pistol, and that actually seemed to improve it. I didn't have that safety clearing issue anymore. It feels a little nicer, looks nicer. So just kind of changed up the guns a little bit, and then I decided, I think these are going to work. And then that G43X and the 48 that I'd showed you, that Mod 1 Firearms, Mod 1 Customs, they redid all with the big porting and everything on the 48. Those had factory triggers on them. So I redid all the triggers there with new connectors and spring kits and trigger shoes and everything. And I got those guns all dialed in. And so I think I'm ready to go now. I think I'm going to leave those guns alone for a while now. But my next goal, I think, is to, I'm probably going to build a couple Dusk 19 pistols of ours, and then I'll be good for a while, I think.
Yeah. So what was the I guess purpose of the class, focus of the class? What did he title it? Or
well, it was he was on vacation, so he was already on the West Coast, so he wanted to just do a class while he was out there. And so they actually called it the Dave Spalding was greatest effing shooting class or something like that. It was just kind of a tongue in cheek thing, but he actually co-did it with Richard Nance, which is, from Guns and Ammo, does a lot of TV shows and stuff. So he kind of taught his curriculum one day, and then Richard Nance did his curriculum on the other day. And Richard's was a lot of like close quarters stuff, kind of, I wouldn't say grappling, but like really, hand, within arm's reach distance of people. So a lot of the really close target, stuff, weapons retention-ish stuff. You're only there for a day on that curriculum, so it's not like super in depth.
Was there any temple indexing?
No, but you but you did have to, a lot of nipple indexing because like when you're shooting really close, you're using your elbow to stand off the target, and you want to get that gun tucked in by your under your armpit, and you kind of touch your shooting thumb to your nipple to make sure you're not going to blast yourself there. Make sure the gun was indexed away from your body enough that you're not going to get a blast in the tit or anything there. But that when you're that close, the concussion off the muzzle was just blowing holes. It looked like I was shooting shotguns because it was just blowing the targets away. But yeah, it was really good. It was a lot of the fundamentals. A lot of it was the same drills that I'd taken last year because that was a week-long class that went through kind of the same thing, but just longer and more in depth. I felt like it was a good tune-up class. I was pretty happy I went, and I felt a lot more comfortable. The gun ran, I just felt like I was way more accurate this year for whatever reason. I'm chalking it up to pre-sighting the gun in at 25 yards and the trigger. Just the gun wasn't fighting me. I wasn't fighting the gun, I should say. And, I was really, really happy with that. And, I recommend training if anybody can do it. Obviously, it's not the cheapest thing in the world. But I think we went through 500 rounds in a weekend. So it's not cheap, but man, the skills you learn and the little techniques and tweaks that they can do while they're watching you, totally worth it. Besides
that Polymer 80, were there any other problem guns, quote unquote?
There were, like a guy had a Beretta 92 that was all done up and, had all the Langdon tactical parts in it and crazy light trigger. And so some of the times when he was transitioning from the double action to single action, he would double the gun because it was just so light at that second stage that, when so stuff like that. It's not really the gun's fault, but it's also like harder to control there. There wasn't a ton. It was a lot of Glocks, a lot of SIGs. Only like one guy had a 1911. There's always one guy thinking that was going to be the good thing, but, it was kind of fun. There was at the end of the class, they do like a duel. So they had a dueling tree set up and two guys go up and you only get, 2 mags with 10 rounds apiece in them. So it's, 20 rounds and, you gotta you fight. And then at the end of when you run out of ammo, whoever shoots over the amount of plates wins. And so it's not like necessarily a speed thing. It's not necessarily that, but like accuracy really does matter because you start bullet hosing it and the other guy can be more patient and just, shoot the plates over when you run out of ammo. So that was kind of an interesting technique. I'm more of a spray and pray type person a lot of times, and I learned to slow down and not. And I got through 3 rounds. And I think I lost in the, what would it be, like semifinals or whatever, but I got I got a lot further than I thought I would be. I think I beat 3 people if I remember right. So I was like pretty stoked there. I thought I'd be out the first go around, but, you really had to take your time and just hammer the plates and get a cadence and just, watch your ammo. That was the big thing is any misses. If the other guy didn't miss, he could win just by default, no matter what the time was.
Yeah, because you don't realize how much time you lose missing in that type of setting. I mean, it seems probably when you're doing it seems like, way more than it is, but, every millisecond counts.
Yep. So, but yeah, I think it was a great time. My family went with me this time, so we drove out there together. It's like a 1,000-mile trip.
Jeez.
Yeah, it didn't seem that long when I drove by myself. When you have 2 other people with you and you're like dealing with their schedules too, it seemed to go longer. But Yeah. Picked up a hole in the tire on the way back, in the middle of Montana. So like the air pressure monitor started going off and like the tire started going down. We're like, and in Montana, in those Wyoming, Montana area, there's not a lot of exits, like you're kind of in the middle of nowhere. And I'm like, oh crap. So like we made it to, I think it was Bozeman. I can't remember what city we were in, but we got off and, filled it up at a gas station right there. And then there was a Les Schwab like 5 minutes away, which is the tire store out here. So I was like, all right, we'll go over there because I know they do free tire repairs. And as we're driving, we see it going back down. So we're like, okay, it wasn't just a fluke. It's definitely got something in it. And they said a rock was in the tire, not a nail or anything. A rock had pierced the tire.
I've had that happen multiple times.
Wow. Yeah. So they, did that. And then, there was standing water. It was pouring rain. It was standing water. Just after that, we left and, car started hydroplaning at 85 miles an hour. That was a little, pucker factory there. That was, interesting. I was like, all right, I'll slow down a little bit here, but I really like, Montana and Wyoming. I mean, it's beautiful. Very low population density in Wyoming, but, it's just beautiful. Just beautiful. Montana, really like Montana too.
Some people call that a plus.
Yeah, it's a plus until you need something.
Until you city boys realize that, Costco is 5 hours away.
Yep, that is a problem. Yeah.
So, did your tire issue lead you into your pre Black Friday deal here? Your Milwaukee deal?
No, I've been keeping my powder dry on this Milwaukee stuff because, we've been talking tools for quite a while and I've been wanting some Milwaukee tools and M18s and M12 tools. And, I had a Ryobi inflator, same style one where you set the pressure and it'll automatically go up and then shut off. And it was great. I used it for years, but then I think finally I must have overused it and, the seals on the pump must have gone out because it just wouldn't build any pressure.
Oh, yeah.
And so that thing was like $70, I think. And I was like, I don't want to pay that anymore. So I bought the cheaper Ryobi one where it's like a trigger and it just goes and doesn't automatically do it. That was like 20 or 30. And so I've been using that. And then, I really was like, I want the actual real M18 inflator. And so, but like this was probably August, September that I really decided like, this is what I need to do. Then I'm like, well, Black Friday is right around the corner. So like, why would I spend money on tools at this point? Cause they're going to go on sale. And as with everything retail, it seems like sales are starting earlier and earlier. So, Home Depot started their deals, like now. So, I bought a M18 inflator with like the 2 battery kit deal. So I just got that yesterday and oh boy, that thing is nice. It's so much quieter than the Ryobi one. Like it's like a little low hum instead of the big like rattly clack, kind of compressor. It's a little interesting having to screw the air chuck on instead of using this like a little lever clamp style, one.
Yeah.
I don't know if I love that, but how often you're really putting it on? I guess it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not in love with that either. The screw on adapter. I've got the M12 version of the Milwaukee and, we'll get into it a little later, but I took a bunch of vehicles to auction and everything, and some of them had maybe some slow tire leaks that I went down to the auction lot and pumped up the day before it ended. And, having to do, 6, 7, 8 tires in a row is kind of annoying with, the screw on adapter. And then, it takes so long to get it off. You're losing air pressure when you're taking it off. Not a ton, but, it's not, I would prefer the other style. I don't know.
I think there's conversion kits. I've seen people talk about it on Facebook where they change the chuck out on it.
Yeah. I do like how you can just set the tire pressure and turn it on and walk away. You don't have to, be there touching it cause it's really almost better than my air compressor in some scenarios where, if I got a tire that needs a lot of air, I can just walk that out. I don't have to deal with the hose. I don't have to drive the vehicle up to the shop. I can just, screw that on, set the pressure, walk away and, do whatever else I'm doing and come back and get it later.
Oh yeah. I think it's super convenient. I've used them. I use that Ryobi all the time for when we do, switchovers for snow tires in this time of year. Yeah. Cause I store the tires up in the rack in the garage, in the off season, and they always inevitably lose air over the time. So before you put them on, I just do the whole stack and then put them on the car.
Yeah.
Does the M12 have the memory function like the M18?
It
Does it have
might,
a memory button?
I don't know for sure.
That's one of my favorite features on this M18. It's got a memory feature that holds 4 presets, so you don't even have to use the scroll button to go up to the PSI. You just hit the memory feature and then it goes right to it. So I have all the pressures for all of our cars already pre-programmed in there, and you just hit the button and hit the go button, and then it goes right to it.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. But, so the Milwaukee deals, I got that. And then, I also bought the vacuum on your recommendation. You said that the little battery powered vacuum was a good buy. And, that's one of the things I hate about the, pulling out the shop vac. I store mine in the shed behind the garage, and it's a pain in the butt because it's, you got the hoses and you have 4 wheels that all spin. So it wants to, go on its own direction. And so just having to, vacuum cars out is the 99% usage for that. So there's a little 2.5 gallon, fuel version M18, and it's pack out compatible too. So if you have a pack out system, it locks into that. I guess it's cool. Intended for tradesmen to clean up after themselves, which nobody ever does, but, in theory, if electricians wanted to clean up after themselves, they could. But yeah, I got that last night. That works out pretty good. And then, they call it a hack. It's not really a hack, but because, Home Depot allows you to do this, but there's ways to get stuff cheaper than, if you don't need the full kit. So I wanted to get that vacuum, and that vacuum is normally $180, I think it was. But if you got it for quote unquote free if you bought the concrete vibratory vibrator things, the big you put in concrete and gets the air bubbles out. Well, it's like a $400 kit then at that point. But when you put it in the cart, it shows you the prorated value of each one of those pieces that makes up $400. And you get it, and you can easily just go to Home Depot and return the concrete part piece that you don't want. And then now that the pack out that's normally $180 for that vacuum is $120 something, $123 I think it was. Yeah. And they don't give you any gruff or anything. I did that last night. I mean the vibrator came in last night, took it back to the store and returned it, no problem.
You don't want to keep the vibrator?
No, it's way bigger than I expected. It was it looked like a rifle box. It was like a tall, long box. And I was like, what the heck? I did not expect that.
So a little intimidating.
Yeah. When I had it shipped to my office too, because the tax rate in Idaho is so much lower than it is in Washington. So you save even more money by having it shipped there. And I just told the girls, there's my vibrator. And then the vacuum was there, and I was like, there's my blower or my sucker, and my vibrator is right there. Yeah. So so that's the only thing I've gotten so far. I wanted to make sure that whole return, scheme worked before I bought more, because, they came out with a brand new, high torque, impact driver, like the super duper high torque, impact gun. And it's $299, and there's no deals on it specifically, but it's part of a kit that if you buy one of those 1 and 9/16 hammer drills, those SDS rotary hammer drills, it brings it down to $221. But that's $1,000 purchase initially before you do the return. So I really want to make sure that works before I get into that. So I think I'm going to order that next so I can return the drill that I don't need and get the impact cheaper.
Yeah.
So I need to get that, and I'm going to get an M12 stubby, impact 3/8 gun for working on cars. And I do want a mid-torque M18 gun, but the deal that they have, it includes a free battery, and then it says out of stock on the battery, which is weird because they have a bunch of batteries. So that deal is kind of dead right now. I can't do it, but there's a couple little things I'm going to get. But this is the kind of time to buy Home Depot stuff if any of that kind of stuff if you want it.
Yeah, Milwaukee in general, my farm store here, they'll run really good deals, better than anywhere else, better than Home Depot, better anywhere else you can find. But it's random what thing they decide to run a deal on. It's usually 1 or 2, blowout deals they'll do. So it's whether or not I actually need that thing. I would like to get a 3/8 stubby impact. That would be really handy. I've got the 3/8 DeWalt, I don't know if it's really even called an impact, but it's a DeWalt, 3/8 driver thing, dealy. Watch West Works has one.
Yeah, that was my other thing too, is, I've got the Ryobi M18 stuff, or not M18, whatever the 18 volt Ryobi stuff is. That's fine. Getting the Milwaukee 12s and 18s, but I've really considered just buying a standard, whatever the $100 DeWalt 20 volt kit is for the driver, just to get the system in case I get there's deals on a good tool that uses that ecosystem. Cause like you said that that fan behind you said the DeWalt fan is great. Like, well, that's good, but I don't have that ecosystem. But if that gets me in cheap to start, I can just build on it later as those tools show up that I want.
Yeah. I mean, it's, like the DeWalt versus Milwaukee portable fans, the DeWalt in my mind is way better. And I misspoke. I don't know if I was even talking to you on air about the fan. But I had said it wouldn't take the bigger batteries or something, but it actually does. You can put the big 60-volt batteries in it. And because I think you were contemplating, can you put an adapter in it, run a different battery? And so maybe, depending on the adapter, you'd have to try it. And that's something, even though I have both ecosystems, I would like to get an adapter where I can run either or battery on either or tool. Because there's so many times, you think you have enough batteries, but there's so many times just in the last month here that I can't find any battery whatsoever for the tool I need to use, but I can find the opposite brand battery at that moment. And it's always, it always switches. When you're looking for the DeWalt battery, you can only find a free Milwaukee and vice versa. So I'm thinking, maybe I should just get an adapter. Of course, then I would never find the adapter when I need it either.
Yeah, it seems like from my research, it seems like a lot of the automotive tools, Milwaukee kind of dominates in that space. And then like construction and home repair stuff, DeWalt seems to kind of dominate there for whatever reason.
Yeah. I mean, as a whole, I feel Milwaukee is a lot better ecosystem. If you just want to choose one, I'd say choose that one. But then again, I mean, if you're not too picky about stuff and you just kind of want to expand your collection on a budget, DeWalt has so many budget-friendly options in their ecosystem that are really pretty good tools. And they're some of them are just vastly cheaper than the Milwaukee version of it. So if you want, more bang for your buck, that, DeWalt ecosystem is probably a better choice.
The hard part is like, I just am now starting to learn all the nomenclature on the Milwaukee, like the fuel, surge, non-fuel, like, and what all that means and, what you're really giving up if you don't get a fuel version and all that. I would have to start from scratch on the DeWalt to learn what their little gotcha marketing terms are and like the flex volt and the whatever and, all their terms.
Yeah. And then that gets annoying in the DeWalt ecosystem because you do the 60 volt tools are really the best tools. It's kind of like the fuel version for DeWalt is their 60 volt series. And there might be another term they put with that. But the problem lies there is that you can't use the smaller 20 volt batteries to power those tools. You have to have a 60 volt battery because I have a circular saw, I have a weed eater, I have a grinder, and all of those I have to have. I only have 2 of these batteries because they're so expensive. I've never bought more, but you have to have that 60 volt version to run those tools. If you can't find it, you're out of luck. And that's why and I really think DeWalt shot themselves in the foot making it that way because on the Milwaukee side, there's really not that problem. As long as you can find a Milwaukee M18 battery, you can power the tool.
Yeah, you're just losing runtime or oomph, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's interesting, so, and also I have Makita M12 stuff right now too. So I'm not going to buy much more of that, but it's another one that I have. Yeah. But it's nice to have all the ecosystems so you can, as tools come up or deals that come up, you can always buy into them without too much trouble.
I don't know. I think I'm good with it too. I have an old, Makita or something else, and I've never expanded that drill driver set. I've just, I went to DeWalt after that and then got into Milwaukee and like I've thought about getting out of the DeWalt and going just into Milwaukee, but the problem is I just have dozens of DeWalt tools at this point. It would be, kind of painful to make that transition.
Yeah, I could see that. And, everybody dogs the Ryobi stuff, which I get why. But, man, they just have so much variety of tools for a reasonable price. Mm-hmm. It's just, for the average guy that doesn't need to, make a living with the tools, it really does work for a lot of those use cases.
All right. So, What have you been doing with your Tundra?
Oh, the Tundra. I was getting this weird chirp under cold start, like an annoying kind of noise, and kind of narrowed it down to the belt, and ended up taking the serpentine belt off, starting it up, wasn't there. So I was like, okay, I'm pretty sure it's the belt, and ordered a belt, and I'm like, hey, I should do the tensioner and the idler while I'm here, just to cover all the bases, get it all done in one shot. Well, I got them all the parts here, and I haven't done it yet because I didn't realize the tensioner is not like an easy American car where you just have a couple bolts, pull the tensioner off, and swap the new one on. This one is like, it's got a freaking flange around the thing that is behind things on the engine cover. So you have to take like the power steering pump, pull it forward. You have to undo the alternator, pull it forward and swing it down.
Jeez.
You have to take like a timing cover off to get the flange away. If you take the fan shroud off so I can get access to it, you have to drain the top radiator hose to be able to get the flange, the shroud off. So I was like, I'm going to do that in a couple weeks. So I'm just, I'm going to let that one go for a bit, but,
why don't you just,
and then I did make the decision.
Just replace the other parts, replace everything except for that, see if the noise goes away, and problem solved.
Yeah, well, and the other thing I was going to do, a lot of people just pull the pulley off of the tensioner and swap the pulley because that's what actually has the bearing in it.
Yeah.
And that's what the bearing is a lot of times what goes bad. I just got to make sure the diameter of this pulley is the same as the one that's on there because they have changed designs over the years.
Yeah.
And, so if it's a different size pulley, it wouldn't necessarily hold tension right. So I was going to do that probably today, but, I was going to do that. And then, I made the decision, I think I'm not going to do the timing chain myself. I'm going to probably just go ahead and take that to a shop. And I think I've got my savings done for that one. So I'm going to schedule that probably this next couple weeks here and get that done before too long. I feel like I'm on borrowed time every time I drive it. Just the uneasiness of having that timing belt at any time can snap. Because if what that guy told me was true, it's way overdue for a timing chain or timing belt.
Yeah.
So once I get that going, I'll be good. But, that's the maintenance. I'm definitely slowing down on the maintenance costs and everything because it's mostly leveling out now.
Knock on wood.
Knock on wood. Yep.
I'll get right into, now I've had a love-hate relationship with some listeners, like they like the new show and others hate the car talk. And so, I don't know. Listen, don't listen, whatever. Yeah. Is what it is. So, I
mean, we'll process your refund as promptly.
Right.
So,
just send your credit card info. I think I'd mentioned that I was sending some vehicles to auction. I was actually selling some stuff and
quite a bit of stuff.
I ended up selling 6 vehicles, a boat, and 3 lawnmowers, and a partridge in a pear tree. Well, for one, it's amazing how much some stuff at this auction went for. I'm going to paste it.
Of your stuff or somebody else's stuff?
Wow. So yeah, I mean, sort of some of my stuff too. So that Ford Festiva, let's start with that. So 1990 Ford Festiva, rusty, and I disclosed it was rusty and it needed brake work and blah, blah, blah. And the auction did close-up pictures of how rusty it was and everything. I bought that thing for $600 2 years ago. Guess what it sold for?
$400.
Add a 1 in front of that.
$1,400?
Can you believe that?
For a Ford Festiva? Is it on the link that you put in there?
Yeah. Just search Ford. Yeah. Can you believe that? $1,400?
No, I cannot. Who would pay that?
But the really crazy thing, one of the most expensive things at the auction, and this was just a farm auction, it had a lot of tractors and farm equipment and vehicles sprinkled in. So this wasn't like a vehicle-specific auction. But someone had a beautiful 1997 old body style F-250 Power Stroke. Red and blue, or not red and blue, blue and white two-tone, beautiful old body style Power Stroke. Regular cab, long box. Had pretty low mileage on it. 145,000 miles, 4x4, chrome stock. It was all stock too, like an old man drove it. Hasn't really been molested, as far as I could tell.
Is this the blue and white one?
Yeah. But, and it didn't have overdrive. They said the PCM module was out of it. So it didn't even have overdrive. Yeah, but it was a beautiful truck. I cannot believe what this thing went for. Did you see what that went for?
Yeah, I would not pay that much.
$17,750. Almost $18,000 for a 97 old body style Power Stroke. I mean,
it's a Power Stroke, but it doesn't make any power compared to like new diesels, right? Like,
well, no, not even close. It must be a nostalgia thing. I don't understand. Like sometimes you'll see people on Marketplace asking, these crazy amounts of money for Power Strokes, and I never thought they got the money. And apparently they might sometimes. I guess some guy in Wisconsin bought this, I heard. So like he probably didn't even see it in person. It just blows my mind.
I mean, it's got low miles, 145,000 miles. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
But still, it's still got some body damage. Do you see the rocker damage and stuff?
Yeah, it does have body damage. Not terrible. In my mind, I bid it up to like 6,000 or something, and it's really not a good time for me to be buying a vehicle anyways. But I bid it up to that. I'm like, well, because I didn't want to see it go cheap. And I was thinking it might go for 8 or something. But yeah, it went for more than twice that. Are
these in-person auctions or online auctions?
This was online only.
Oh, okay.
And then actually there's a Ford, if you search dump, there's a dump truck. There's a Chevy dump truck, a 1956 Chevy dump truck. It's just an old dump truck. It went for $9,900. $10,000 for a 50s Chevy dump truck.
But it's got 40,000 miles.
Yeah.
No, it says odometer reads 40,000 miles.
Yeah. I mean, it runs and drives, has a title, sure, whatever. And it's a good patina truck, but it's a big, heavy dump truck. Like, it's not a desirable body or anything to do anything else with. And I guess this sold locally. To me, that's like, maybe a $1,500, $2,000 truck on a good day. But it went for $10,000.
Yeah, what are they doing with these things?
I don't understand. It's just an old farm dump truck goes for $10,000. Where are we living? I don't understand.
I mean, if this was like a 2-wheel drive half ton, I could see, because converting it into like a street rod or something. But yeah, a dually dump truck. What are you going to do with it? Like,
yeah, I mean, it doesn't share the body with the smaller, more desirable trucks either. It's the heavier, bigger truck cab.
Yeah, it's got a cool shape to it, but man, yeah, if it's
it is cool. It and I saw it in person. It's a good looking truck, good patina, but I don't get it. Because generally old dump trucks like that go for a few $100 at farm auction. At least they used to.
It might be cool with like lifting it up, big tires, and put like a Cummins or something in it.
Yeah, I don't know.
$10,000's a lot of money.
Yeah, I mean, to me, you can get a grain truck or a dump truck like that at a farm auction with that same cab. Maybe not in that good a shape, but to me, you can get one for just a few $100 a lot of times. So I don't know. There was a 6-liter F350 that had the bed torched off it and had a bad motor that went for $2,500, which is pretty crazy.
See, 2004 Super Duty.
Yeah, so that's pretty nuts too. I don't know why that went with a blown 6. Like, no one wants a 6-liter Power Stroke. They all blow up, and this one's already blown up. And I opened the doors on this one, and it's been sitting forever. There's rat turds all over the thing. So it's not like a nice truck otherwise. It's a dirty old nasty farm truck.
You should have been on this Super Duty roll-off truck.
Well, yeah, the rollback truck, a 90 Super Duty. It's got the old IDI diesel in it, and I looked at that, and it's rough, and the oil didn't even come to the add mark on the dipstick. Like it either leaks a lot or they didn't maintain it. So that was a big red flag. But it still went for $6,500. It's really beat up. It was used as a tow truck always, the last 30 years, obviously, because they used it right up until this last year or something. And it goes for $6,500, which that doesn't make a lot of sense either.
We have to go back to your Festiva though. Like a 1990, 257,000 miles.
Yeah.
On a Ford.
Well, a Kia.
Econobox. And then it says right in there, has rust and needs brake work. and somebody still spent $1,400 on it.
I mean, I'm grateful. I hope it works out for them. I don't know. Maybe it's a nostalgia thing with that too. I don't.
They trying to make a go-kart out of it or something? I guess it's a cheap go-kart.
I mean, I bought it for a go-kart. That's why I bought it. And then I just never really used it. And, yeah, I don't know. And then, so I had a seafoam green, 97 F350 crew cab. That was a 2-wheel drive.
Oh, this was yours too, huh?
5.8 liter, truck. Run and drove. It was, but it was, the interior's shot. The seats are shot. It's not a pretty truck. I mean, it's seafoam green. And I got it at auction for like $800 a couple years ago, and it went for $1,150. So I was happy there.
That seat looks like somebody had an atomic fart in it. Holy cow.
Yeah.
What happened to that seat?
I don't know. They're so blown out. They're just like someone cut all the foam out where you sit on both the passenger and driver's side. I don't understand it.
But you didn't even try to clean it up before you take it to auction, huh?
No.
It's like an inch of dust on the dash panel. You could barely see the gauges. 1,100. So you made money on this one.
Made money on that one. Made money on the Festiva, and then the 96 F250 Super Cab long bed 4x4 with had the big 460 fuel injected big block. That one I lost money on because it went for $1,550, and I bought it 2 years ago for $2,300.
I was gonna say, I don't think these vehicles would go for this price out here, but I guess they wouldn't rust out here either. So maybe that's the difference. But
yeah,
you couldn't. I don't think you can get a truck for $1,500 in this area at all.
Yeah, well,
if it runs.
Yeah, so then I sold the minivan, which we've had for a long time.
Is that the Honda?
Research Honda. I got two here. So the 2006 Honda Odyssey, we bought it from a relative, an aunt, maybe 6 years ago, something like that. And instead of trading it in, they sold it to us for $800 because that's all the dealer was going to give them for it at the time. So pretty good deal back then because they were selling in the market back then for like $4, $5, $6 grand. And it ended up going for $1,100, which, that's probably a pretty good deal for someone for running, driving minivan. So hopefully that works out for them. I was just done and over fixing the back doors on that thing. I disclosed the back doors need work, but those sliding doors on that generation Honda Odyssey are just a nightmare. They're always fixing them. And then the Honda CR-V, I made that into a Gambler. I went on the Gambler 500 in the Black Hills a couple of years ago, put big 33-inch tires on that thing with a little bit of a lift, and I did the CV shafts. I did a bunch of work to it. It was really nice when I got it too, that clean interior AC worked. And it's still a pretty good car. It's always had a bad power steering leak. I never addressed that. I disclosed that in the auction. So that one I bought for $900 and it went for $1,750. So
those aren't 33s on it in the pictures, though, are they? Did you take those off?
Yeah, I put the stock tires back on it and spray painted the rims silver. Because the kid I bought it from had spray painted the rims are aluminum, but he had spray painted them black and it was all flaked off really bad. And then I tried to clean his paint off, but that was just a nightmare getting that off. So I just quickly spray painted them all. So
I think you're too honest in these descriptions.
Yeah, I try to be honest with them. I mean, I don't want, people to feel like they got ripped off or anything.
Okay, so you got $1,750, so you made money on that one.
Yep. So what was the last one? So 2 Hondas, 3 Fords, and
lawnmowers or something too.
Oh, the Chevy Love.
Love.
I bought it for $1,000. It sold for $1,000. So I lost on that because it's I owe a 10% fee for everything sold here. So lost money on the Love. I even included brand new tires, correct, tires for it in the bed. So I really lost money on that one. But I wasn't going to do anything else with it. I was kind of over it. And I have another Love that's actually a 4x4 that, I'm hoping I'll get around to, the tires I saved off the CR-V, I'd like to put on this 4x4 Love. It should be pretty cool with those tires on it. Yeah, and then a couple lawnmowers, they all went cheap. Lost money on all of those compared to what I bought them for. Of course, this is an October auction, not the greatest time to sell a lawnmower. And then, I had a four-wheeler. The four-wheeler went for $800. It was a 90s Kawasaki Bayou two-wheel drive four-wheeler. It was like a 220, so not a real big one. It run and drove and stuff. I had put new front tires on it, and I included new front radius arms because it gets pretty squirrely. I think the radius arms on it had been bent at one time and were welded, and so I was thinking they weren't true, and so I had ordered new ones. I included those with it, and I just never used that four-wheeler. It just sat in the garage and was always in the way, so time for it to go. Oh, and then the boat was a parts boat I bought for the motor to put on my good boat. I paid $700 for it, pulled off the motor, which is worth well over $1,000. And then the boat and trailer went for $210 in this auction. So I'm really happy with that. I'm glad it's out of my hair.
Do you think the no title hurt the four-wheeler?
It might have, because a lot of people do plate them out here. So I don't know. But a lot of people run them without plates too, so who knows? I think that being two-wheel drive hurt it the most.
Yeah, I can see.
So
okay, so you got quite a bit of stuff sold. So everything's sold, right?
Yeah, everything's sold. I feel like when I do the math and do the money put into all these, I probably broke even as a whole. I might even, have a little more money invested, but some of that was maintenance and driving them and stuff. So I feel pretty good. Like I didn't lose a ton of money. I wish a couple things went more than it would have, but a couple things went more than I thought they would have. So it kind of evens out there. It's the first time I ever sent anything to an auction like this too. So, I didn't do a reserve on anything, and I did not bid on my own items. A person could bid on their own items to try to bid them up. The risk you run there is you win your own item and then you still owe the auction company a fee.
Yeah.
This auction company actually doesn't charge you to do a reserve. So like I could have put, like the Love, I could have put $1,000 reserve on that. And if it didn't sell, there's no fee to me. I just go pick up the Love and is what it is. So that's kind of cool, but I didn't do that. Cause I advertised on Facebook, all the vehicles at least as, no reserve auction, and everything. And I stayed true to that.
Did you buy anything at this auction?
I didn't buy a thing. Nope. Well, and so there was a Dodge Ram here too, an 80s Dodge Ram that I did bid on. And like, I was going to do like $1,200 or something for this thing, but it went for $2,450. So it went like double what I wanted to pay for it. It was a clean truck. You could tell it was an old man's truck. It would have been a good, kid's vehicle in my mind. Cause our oldest just got his driver's permit. So he's got to get hours in now, and then he can get a restricted permit.
Yeah, it's just interesting to see what types of vehicles, why they go to auction versus like selling them on Facebook Marketplace. For you, it was just not having to deal with all the buyers, right?
Which I still kind of did. I mean, I'm glad I didn't have to deal with people coming to my house and all that for all this, but I still had to deal with a million Facebook messages I probably dealt with well over 1,000 Facebook messages for all these.
Jeez.
Yeah. And that's the other interesting case study here. So I paid to put like 4 or 5 of these on Craigslist. You got to pay $5 per auto ad to list on Craigslist. And so I did that. And out of, I'm over 1,000 messages, Facebook. Craigslist, I think I got 5 messages total.
You think just that shows you how much different traffic flow is nowadays?
Wow. It's easier to message on Facebook.
Yeah, it's true.
So that might be part of it. But I think everyone's on Facebook. I don't think there's anyone on Craigslist. If someone would release, side-by-side data in there, I would guess, Craigslist traffic would be, 10% or less of what Facebook is for the ads.
Well, I just wish the Facebook search was a lot better then.
Oh, it's so bad. I still find the best stuff on Facebook just randomly appearing to me. And then stuff that randomly appears I'm interested in doesn't even show up if I search for it. So it's really broken.
I'm surprised you didn't bid on this conversion van, the 2000 G1500 Express van. That's what your family needs, is a old school high top conversion van.
I would kind of like, so the Vans, that's the 2000. I'm kind of thinking that still has a Vortec motor in it, and they didn't have the LS motors in that one yet. I think there's something weird with the Vans where they didn't have, because the Suburbans didn't come out until 2000 with the LS, and the Vans might have been a year later or something. I'm not sure, but that's a handicap van that's got a ramp in it and like hand controls and stuff. So it was really rusty. And that Ford van was really rusty too, and they must have put a reserve on it because it didn't sell. But that Ford van was interesting because it's got the straight six. It's got the really desirable 90 straight six fuel injected. 300 in it, which I didn't even cross my mind that Ford put those in those vans, but apparently they put them in actually quite a few of those vans. So that's pretty interesting because that's an engine that gets pretty good fuel economy and it runs forever. The problem,
not a ton of power, but
yeah, there's no power. But the problem is with those Ford vans, I just hate those bodies. I hate the body style of those. They're just really bad to me.
And the interiors are kind of chintzy looking too.
The interiors are really chintzy. Yeah, the Chevys had, any year of the big vans, the Chevys had the better interiors. Yeah, I wouldn't mind getting like an 2000s Chevy van, but like those go for a lot of money. Like the ones that are actual passenger vans and not work vans, like they go for like $15,000, $18,000. Like the ones that aren't all, heading to the junkyard. If they're
those conversion companies are still a thing. They don't do a ton of them as much as they used to, obviously, but Hoovie's Garage just did a video on he had a new one converted, a 2021 or something like that. And he said it was like $80,000, but he's like, it's way better than an Escalade. Like he's like, it's so much nicer than an Escalade and it's cheaper by like 20% than an Escalade.
Yeah. I could see that. Yeah. I need to watch that video. I saw he had that one up. I started watching some of his stuff and, he did a video on a 1970s Ford F-250 and he was comparing how, it's better than buying a brand new truck in so many ways. And it really is. I mean, the new truck market is just a dumpster fire in my opinion. And for the amount of money you spend, I don't know. It's not an investment. You're losing money. Even if you justify that you need it for your work or whatnot, I think you're still better buying something older, with low mileage if you can find it.
Yeah, if you can find it is the key. Yep.
Yeah.
Auction experience good. You gonna got any more to clear out? You gonna clear out any more?
Well, so that leads me to, the Deere, I'll touch real quick. I know people are sick and tired of me talking about Suburbans and Yukons, but the Deere Suburban, the one that got hit by a deer, I've got that back up and running now. So that's back to being the main family vehicle. Jenny's driving that. And, I'm really glad I was, cause it seriously was totaled after that happened. If we had full coverage, the insurance company would have took one look at it and, check that totaled box. And, it's not perfect, but it runs and drives so great. And, we're lucky the deer didn't hit any of the front clip. So, none of the steering or anything was affected in it. So really in my mind, what happened, it was a bigger problem than it was fixing it. So I bought that part Suburban. I stole a door off of that to fix the driver's door on it. And then I actually didn't swap out the driver's side rear door like I thought I would. I just, had the body shop do a couple paintless dent pulls on it. And it's still not perfect, but shuts fine, seals fine. And the driver's door shuts and seals. And I had the body shop do the windshield. That went perfect. No problem there. And then the back window, I was gonna do myself. I did some paintless dent pulling myself on that rear quarter, and it was really bad. It was really pushed in. The window frame area was pushed in. Everything, below that was way pushed in. And I did, I think 4 or 5 rounds of paintless dent pulling on that. And I got it pulled out a lot. Like as far as dimensionally goes, I got the window frame where it needs, where the window needs to be glued to. I got that back where it needs to be. And then, the outside I got dimensionally pulled back pretty much where it needed to be, but it's still all wrinkly looking, which I knew it would be, especially my first time attempting something like this. But I got to where I was going to put the window in I had, it all prepped. You got to get the old adhesive out of there. And, I used a multi-tool with a flat chisel bit to get a lot of it out. And then I went back with a gasket scraper to get more out. And then, and you don't have to get every little bit out. I talked to the body shop about it, but it's got to be flat, and good to go for adhering the new, adhesive. And, just holding the window up there, test fitting it in there, like, I couldn't really get my head around how I was going to get it to stay there while it's set. Like, I thought about running straps, like, all the way around the back of the vehicle or something like that. But, like, it kind of needed to be compressed in a little bit. And, like, I was afraid I was going to break the window setting it, getting it to set in there and compressing it how it needed to be. I don't even know how the body shop does it. I looked on YouTube. I couldn't find a single video on anyone doing it. I could other makes and models, but the windows set in differently on those. So I ended up, the body shop said, sure, we'll do it. We'll even use your window, because I'd ordered a window off of eBay. When I did that, I said, hey, can you do a couple paintless dent pulling in this area, on that back door while you're at it? And I told them, just do a quick and dirty job. I know it's going to be wrinkled. I don't care. Just do, this is a budget build type thing. And they did it. They did it all for, including the cost of the windshield, for like $420 out the door. Well, so that really wasn't bad. I was happy with that, and they pulled a little more. Like, I got the paintless dent pulling like 90%. They probably did, another 9%, and it's still wrinkled and stuff. So like the rest of the way, like if they would have done it from the beginning, it would probably look pretty good. Like just walking by it, you might not notice it, because I did things wrong. And
when you say, are you saying pushing it from the back, or is there like an adhesive you put on the front and pull from the front?
What are you talking about?
When you say doing the paintless pulls, are you pushing the panel from the backside so you don't have paint?
Well,
or are you like gluing a stick to the front and then doing the slide hammer type thing? And
okay, so one of the mistakes I'd made, and I mentioned this in another show, I think at a garage sale, I found this auto body, tools and stuff, old school auto body tools, and I tried some of the stuff from the back, but in doing that, I put some new dents and creases from the backside, which that was all wrong. I was just, hold my beer, try this kind of thing, and it cause more problems. So, in hindsight, I think I would try and to inflate a bladder from the backside and see if it was a really big dent, though. I'm not sure a bladder would have moved this. See, the other thing I didn't have that body shops have that do this is that they have these big heat things that they put on these vehicles, so they heat up these body panels pretty hot so that they become malleable and can stretch and come back out as they're doing the paintless dent pulling. And I didn't have that. I tried doing it a little bit with the heat gun and blow torch, but really you need a big giant heat thing that throws heat at it. But yeah, the paintless dent pulling is basically you get a big hot, one of the big hot glue guns, not the little craft ones, but the big hot glue guns. And then there's special kinds of, hot glue, that you put through the gun, and you get all these little plastic things that you glue to, where you need to pull the body out at. So you put this hot glue on it, put these plastic things that have, loops or D-rings, that then you hook a strap to. And, I just parked by my tractor and used it as an anchor. So I ran all these ratchet straps through all these plastic anchor points. I hot glued, with this special hot glue to the vehicle. Excuse me. And then you just use a ratchet strap to pull it out. And then, eventually they pop off. If it's too big of a pull, too much tension, it'll just pop that hot glue thing. Sometimes it'll pop off and leave the hot glue on the vehicle. Sometimes the whole thing just kind of comes off. I did have one pop off and take a little bit of paint with it. That wasn't great. Body shops have like these fixtures and stuff. Some of them, like the vehicle sits on these fixtures to anchor them, and then they ratchet against those. So they do it a little bit different. Their anchors are better. I just got cheap ones off of Amazon. I did buy the really good paintless dent pulling hot glue though. So that's one thing I did right, because you buy all these cheap paintless, dent pulling kits on Amazon, but they all come with just cheap, crappy glue adhesive. And, I bought some of the best ones on the market, but they're really expensive. I only bought one package of them. And once that's one reason I didn't do more of the pulling too, is I ran out of the glue and I wasn't going to order more at that point. I just decided to have the body shop do a little more and take it from there. But I don't know. I just watched a bunch of videos on it. Like, some of these guys are such, it's like an art form, like these vehicles that they come in all smashed up and they pull all these dents out. And like, one guy even like takes in vehicles that are all hail damaged, and he uses these like metal rods that he'll find like little holes on the inside of the, interior. He'll pull the trim off and find these little holes and run these rods in, and like it's an art.
It out.
It's like an art. Yeah. He like massages them out. He'll take a hail damaged car and make it look like new. It's just blows my mind that someone can. I don't have the patience for that. And
yeah, I don't have the patience either. And a lot of it is lighting to see it good. And like, I've seen them put like mirrors against the panel so they can like reflect it up and see the divots better and everything. Yeah. A lot of them is like these like crazy, like long rods with like just different, angles bent into it. So it's like has a little different leverage points and everything, or different ends on there. So it makes a different push on the panel.
Yeah. So I got that on my system though. I don't think, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't have the patience for body work.
Yeah, I don't really have the patience I don't have really anything nice enough for body work either, which is a plus. But like, I don't know. I had to try it. I'm like, I think I can do this. And, I kind of sort of did it, but I kind of didn't do it right at all. But like the body shop, they didn't complain about, me having brought something and I butchered. They were good about it. And then I took the truck in too, that my Power Stroke, has had a broken windshield for a couple of years now. And the door hinge on it had been done previously, and the driver's door never shut right. And this door hinge is, basically cracked in half. It developed a crack, and then it kept cracking and cracking. And it's like, my door's gonna fall off here. And I bought hinges on Amazon, and I thought about doing it myself, but I'm like, well, I'll just, these guys are already doing work. I'll just switch it out with the Suburban once I get it back, and, have them do it. But that actually ended up costing more, because I guess they got into it and someone had cross-threaded all the hinge bolts before, and there's other geometry issues with that door. I should have brought them a junkyard door, is what I should have done. And I thought about doing that at one point, and I didn't. So that it probably would have cost me about the same though if I brought them a junkyard door, because they would have to paint that then. But my door shuts and seals now on the truck, which I didn't even think was possible, because it never did since I bought it.
Yeah, that's the benefit of having professionals do the work.
Yeah, totally. So, and that's I feel pretty good about that truck too, because that's the same year truck as the one we saw sell at auction here for almost $18,000. And I bought it with like 192,000 miles or something, and it's essentially the same truck, except that it's an extended cab and the body's not as nice. But I only paid $5,500 for that, so I'm like, well, and I still see the Power Strokes go for decent prices. I've seen crew cabs go for, $8-9 grand. I've seen ones just like mine, extended cabs, go for $5-6 grand, varying degrees of condition, but still, not really any worse than what I have. So I don't know. I think you got to watch for deals out there. I think you're not going to find a deal at auctions. I mean, we went through just a few things on here, but there's a lot more things on this auction that I think went for crazy money. So I think people get in their mind that they can't find anything. They get desperate, and then they get in a bidding war. They're like, no, it's going to be mine, or he's not going to get a deal on it. And so all it takes is two guys going at it, and you end up paying way more than you should for something. So I think if you're out there looking for deals, it's got to be a marketplace find. I don't know where else, or Craigslist. I think Craigslist is still a good place, because there's not nearly as many eyeballs looking at it. So for those listings that do come up on Craigslist, I think it's a really good place to jump on some deals if they show up. Well, anyways, we should probably wrap this up. People have already stopped listening to the car talk. So Patriot Patch Company makes this episode possible. You can check out the Patch of the Month Club. We got a unique patch sticker and artwork card for your collection in your mailbox every month. Patch of the Month Club. Check it out. And if you need any artwork, website design, graphic design, anything like that, check out Ryan Cross at hunterdesign.com. He can help you out with anything you need. You can reach us at gunguyradio@gmail.com. And don't forget to check out all the other awesome shows here on the Firearms Radio Network. That's a wrap. Thank you, Zach.
Thank you for coming to our car talk.
And we'll catch you next time.
This has been a production of the Firearms Radio Network. You can find more information at firearmsradio.tv.